So in April of 2022, a lump appeared above my breast on my sternum area. And I felt it. And I'm like, what is this? A week later, I was having a biopsy and the diagnosis came back that it was malignant. I couldn't believe it. I was like, are you sure? You want to run that again? Can you maybe take another piece of tissue out to double check? Because surely that can't be true.
So actually going back to about 2016, my husband and I, we had started trying to have a baby. We started embarking on the process of, looking at what our options were because we'd been trying for well over a year and nothing happened. And so I was entered into donor program and, had to be waitlisted. There was one list in particular where I was within the top 5. So I was getting so excited and I was moving up on the list, and at that point, it was about March of 2023 was when I went for my routine mammogram and breast ultrasound. And 2 weeks later, they called me saying they recommend that I do a biopsy. And I said, okay, I'll go in for it. I was a little hesitant, but something said we should go. Went in, and they said, don't worry. 80% of them come back negative. So I just figured it's going to be like everybody else's. It's going to come back negative and I could stay on the track that I'm on of having this baby. And so a week later, I got the call and I was wondering, why are they calling me? Why are you not just sending me my letter in the mail? And that's when the doctor told me that I had breast cancer. And she said that the good thing was that they caught it early. So I really believe that early detection did save my life. And, I acted quickly. Whatever they told me to do, I did. I didn't want to wait.
It was in 2014 when I was diagnosed, but there were no lumps, no signs. I had no symptoms, nothing, just the regular mammogram where they saw that the cells were a little bit different this time. I go in and I do the biopsy, and then at that time, it was my primary care doctor wanted me to come back with my husband. And we went in and she said it's breast cancer. And so we decided we would do the lumpectomy and then the follow-up would be radiation. So the lumpectomy was fine. The radiation was a challenge because maybe the middle of the process, my skin started to break apart. So then you see your flesh. And you still had to go in for more, radiation. And so you're just you're literally burning yourself like every day. And mentally that starts to, to have an effect on you. And then we had 2 kids watching Mom go through this. All my children knew was cancer equaled death of loved ones. So it was an added assignment for me to show them that Mom was going to be okay, that I was going to do everything that I was supposed to do, but God was going to heal me.
So finding the oncologist, my OBGYN said she was going to send me to the best, the top of the line. The first appointment, he came into the office, he didn't have my chart. The first thing out of his mouth was, well, we can have a lumpectomy and we can have a mastectomy. And I was like, wait a minute, where's my chart? You haven't even examined me. So I was out of there before you can blink an eye. So when I told my family that, my niece Tracy says, maybe you need to find a Black oncologist. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I do. Literally a week from that conversation, one of my prayer partners, Angela, calls me up and she says, Daryl, being that you're going through this, I have a friend who is going through cancer as well. And I would love for you guys to meet and talk because maybe she can encourage you. She calls me up and she tells me, oh yes, I'm gonna have surgery on Thursday and my neighbor is performing the surgery. He's a Black oncologist. So that was a setup by God. And immediately I said, please send me his information. I called, set up an appointment, and I was able to go and see him in the next week. And when I went in to see him, the first thing he says to me is, what can I do for you? How can I help you? And he had my chart in his hand. He was looking at the chart and he said, well, did they do an MRI? I was like, no. Did they do a PET scan? No. Did they do a CAT scan? No. He was like, you know what? This is not surprising because of the disparities amongst Black and brown. He even said it. He said, well, whether you use me or not, I'm going to order these tests for you.
They disallowed me from continuing the IVF at this point which was very devastating to me. I've waited all this time, but I now had to wait because at this point, for me to progress with IVF could be harmful to myself and a baby because now estrogen and progesterone levels are high, the cancer is fed, it comes back even more aggressively and spreads more aggressively. With that, they said, okay, we're definitely going to treat it with radiation, probably give it, a few more extra sessions, which they did. But it's so funny that my margins, they call these things margins, that they were so narrow because it was caught so early. So I would encourage women, definitely go for your breast exams because early detection is key. I had no symptoms. I felt nothing. I was walking around fine. And had I not gone for my breast exam that March, I could have gone into an IVF process and this thing flare up and it'd be a very different situation.
December 22nd, I had an appointment with him, and he said my margins were clear after that second surgery. So that was a relief. And then for precautionary measures, my doctor did say that he wanted me to have chemo. I started Googling on my phone. I see cold caps. I'm like, what's that? I've never even heard of that, cold caps. Go online again. The hospital that comes up. I call them. You guys have cold caps? Yes, we do. Is it possible for me to come and get my chemo treatment there because I would like to use a cold cap because I don't want to lose my hair? Of course. Records transferred. This all happened very quickly, too. It was amazing. So we go through this process. I'm not feeling what I should be feeling, right? By the fourth treatment, I'm brushing my hair at home, putting my hair in a ponytail. It starts coming out. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm literally like just pulling on it and it is coming out in my hand. There were a few strands that I was trying to save. And a dear friend of mine said, you need to shave your hair so that when it does grow back, it can start from scratch. And so he shaved it and I was bald. I still don't have the courage to go out with what my hair looks like right now. And I used to wear my hair short back in the day all the time, but cutting your hair and losing your hair, two different things, two different dynamics for me.
For the 5th anniversary of being cancer-free, I had 10 friends and we celebrated, we wore pink, they gave me a shout out and we were going crazy. And then I went for my mammogram and they said, we see something. And I was like, oh no, the machine must be broke. They were like, let's just go, let's do the biopsy again. So my phone rings and I pick it up and it's the doctor and she's like, okay, it's back. So December 11th of 2019, I had my breast removed. And the day that I started my first chemotherapy treatment, my village, my tribe, they all came with me. I got to my second treatment and COVID happened. Everything was shut down. And they weren't allowing people to come in. So here I'm by myself in the hospital, and one of my good friends, I don't know how she did it. I fell asleep, I woke up and I saw her there. She's there with her mask on and she's like, I knew you were here. I just wanted you to know, we're around, we're thinking about you, we're praying for you. Those are those moments, God will just keep on blessing you so you can keep on, going.
This is why we gotta have community. A girlfriend of mine called me up and said, Daryl, did you have an advocate or a social worker speak with you while you were going through your treatments? I'm like, I don't have an advocate or a social worker. She said, oh, you do? The social worker and the advocate that I eventually found out that I had, she sent me a list of resources. And I began to go down the list and start sending emails to these resources. Or there was applications for financial support, for wigs, for eyelashes, for tattoos. I mean, it was endless of what they were offering. And I'm wondering how many other people out there that have been dealing with breast cancer or cancer of any sort have a clue about them. And that was one of the things I started telling people. Did you know about Cancer Care? Did you know about Charcherette? Did you know about Rocking the Road for a Cure? And there's more. Those are just the ones that I've engaged recently. I needed my mortgage paid that month. Did they not pay my mortgage? I can't even tell you. This was God moving through people.
So the plan is to have 5 years of hormone therapy. Because of my unique case, they're going to pause me after 2. and then I'll take a break off the medication for about 2 months, and then I'll be able to move forward with my IVF process. But in the meantime, we had a great surprise. So our donor, I was on this list, and it was amazing how quickly we moved up the list. And so they called us and said she's available. She's going for retrieval on September 13th. And I was like, wow, okay. And I remember I prayed. I had 6 eggs in my donor package. So they give you packages that you can pick from. And I picked the standard one. And they ask you, do you want to get extra? Because you lose half in the process of fertilization. I said, well, it's costly. I said, I'm just going to take the 6, and I'm going to trust that God is going to give us the maximum number of eggs. And I prayed, and I said, God, you know the process. You know our goal. Give us the maximum number. If not 6, give us a minimum of 5. And so we knew that wasn't the norm, but we know that we're children of God. So the next day they call us, and they told us that we have 5 embryos. So they'll be there and waiting for us in 2 years when we're ready to go have our rainbow baby.
My encouragement to anyone, and this was me doing it as well, doing my own research, asking a multiplicity of questions. If they're diagnosing you with something and giving you a prescription to go fill, look up those side effects for yourself. Don't just believe what they say. Do the research. Not saying to denounce the medical field, but having all of the resources that you need to make a conscious decision on what you're going to do to move forward for your health.
How can God get the glory if people don't know what you're going through, if you're not able to share that? He wastes nothing. You know, every situation, every opportunity is a life lesson for you if you're open to it, to receive it. And, you know, I'm happy to say I'm cancer-free as today. And October is a month that means a lot to me, so that way I can share my story, that I can touch people. And whenever I'm getting teary, whenever I'm invited to share my story, I know that there's somebody that can be impacted